Well, they believe that when they have listed all his names, and they reckon that there are about 9 billion of them, God's purpose will be achieved. The human race will have finished what it was created to do, and there won't be any point in carrying on. Indeed, the very idea is something like blasphemy. Then what do they expect us to do? Commit sin? There's no need for that. When the list is completed, God steps in and simply winds things up. Bingo. Hi guys, it's Quinn here. Please hit the like button to help out this channel, and also please subscribe if you enjoyed the content. Check out our Patreon if you want to support this channel more. Arthur C. Clarke was one of the most important science fiction writers of the 20th century, alongside authors like Isaac Asimov and Robert Heinlein. He helped define modern science fiction. He brought this sense of wonder and seriousness to the genre. He was not just a writer or storyteller, he was a futurist and a visionary. Clarke predicted satellite communications decades before they became a reality. He often wrote essays about the ways technology would shape our future. Clarke's stories are interesting to me because they often blend the cold logic of science with a deep, almost mystical sense of the unknown. He doesn't just write about rockets or computers, he writes about humanity's place in the universe. His most famous work, 2001: A Space Odyssey, is a perfect example of this. It deals with evolution, artificial intelligence, the mystery of alien life, and it's all told with this quiet, almost reverent tone. In my opinion, Clarke has this way of making science feel poetic and terrifying at the same time. To me, one of his most striking stories is the 9 billion names of God, which I've wanted to talk about for a long time. Now, this was first published in 1953. It's short, it's only a few pages long, but inside of it is packed in this massive idea. It is also the perfect example of how Arthur C. Clarke could take a simple premise and build towards a really unforgettable, haunting ending. So the story begins when a Tibetan Lama contacts a computer company, asking to rent a Mark V automatic sequence computer. This machine is incredibly powerful, and it's capable of generating and printing massive amounts of data. 2 engineers, George and Chuck, are sent to a remote monastery high in the Himalayas to install and oversee the computer. At first, the engineers don't fully understand why the monks need this machine, but it turns out that the monks have been working for centuries on a sacred task, writing down every possible name of God. They believe that somewhere among all possible combinations of their special alphabet are the true hidden names of the divine. By hand, this process would take about 15,000 years to complete. With the Mark V computer, it can be finished in just 100 days. The engineers see this as harmless. To them, it's just lines of gibberish being printed out and pasted into enormous books. They view the monks as eccentric but basically harmless. But as the story progresses, Chuck learns the truth about what the monks actually believe. The Lama explains that once all the true names of God are listed, the purpose of the universe will have been fulfilled. At that point, there will be no reason for existence to continue. Reality itself would simply end. This revelation horrifies Chuck, who begins to fear that when nothing happens, the monks will blame him and George. Because obviously he doesn't believe that the universe will actually end. He's afraid of how the monks would react when the machine doesn't work the way they want it to. He even suggests sabotaging the machine so that it doesn't finish before they leave. But George refuses, saying that they should just do their job and go home. In the final scene, the 2 men are headed down the mountain after their work is done. George looks back, wondering how the monks will react when they realize nothing happened. And then suddenly, Chuck notices something strange in the sky. The last lines of the story are unforgettable. "Look," whispered Chuck. and George lifted his eyes to heaven. There's always a last time for everything. Overhead, without any fuss, the stars were going out. To me, this ending is terrifying, memorable, beautiful, all of those things. Clarke doesn't describe the destruction of the universe with explosions or chaos. Instead, it's quiet, inevitable, almost peaceful, like turning off a light switch. It's a reminder that the universe itself is far larger and stranger than we can comprehend. At its core, this is a story about, I think, a clash between two worldviews, faith, skepticism. The monks are representing this kind of ancient spiritual perspective, while the engineers symbolize modern technological rationality. For most of the story, the engineers think they're the ones in control. They view the monks as superstitious and assume that their beliefs are just symbolic. In my opinion, this dynamic is what makes the twist have weight. Arthur C. Clarke sets us up to side with the engineers. We think, like them, that this is just an odd little job, like this quirky ritual sped up by modern machinery. But by the end, it turns out that the monks were right, and the skeptical, scientific worldview is the one that fails to understand the bigger picture. It's commentary on how small human understanding can really be. I think the moment that Chuck learns the monk's true beliefs tells a lot. They believe when they have listed all his names, and they reckon there are about 9 billion of them, God's purpose will be achieved. The human race will have finished what it was created to do, and there won't be any point in carrying on. Indeed, the very idea is something like blasphemy. This passage really gets to the heart of what Clarke is doing. It's not just that the monks think the end of the world is coming, it's that they see the universe itself as having a purpose, like a cosmic machine itself. Once that machine has done its job, it simply shuts down. To me, this is an incredibly interesting idea. It takes the concept of religious faith and treats it literally. What if prayer isn't symbolic at all? What if it's a kind of cosmic software running silently in the background until the task is completed? Another idea that's present in this short story, and that stands out to me, is the theme of how technology accelerates fate. The monks have already been doing this work for centuries, but it would have taken them thousands of years to finish it. The arrival of the Mark V computer speeds everything up, and ultimately it brings upon the end much sooner than anyone expected. In a way, the engineers are completely innocent. They don't believe in the monk's goal, but by introducing advanced technology, they accidentally bring about the end of the universe. This reminds me of real-world situations where tools or inventions have massive unforeseen consequences. It's a classic cautionary tale. Progress isn't always neutral. Sometimes speeding things up can also change everything. And I really do believe that the final scene is so effective, partly because of how understated it is. You've got George and Chuck just riding away, and they're probably thinking about getting home, maybe even laughing about how strange the job was. Then without warning, the stars start simply going out. No dramatic warning, just silence. This ending is speaking to Clarke's belief that the universe is vast and indifferent. Human beings expect drama and spectacle, but the true end might just be quiet, almost casual. And like many good endings, it has this hint of irony, because the engineers spent the entire story assuming that the monks were foolish, but in the end, the monks were right, and reality itself bends to their belief. So this story may be really, really short, but to me, it leaves a lasting impact. Arthur C. Clarke uses a really simple premise to explore really big questions. The limits of human understanding, technology. Have you read this short story? And have you read much Arthur C. Clarke? If you have, tell me some of your favorite Arthur C. Clarke stories. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Make sure you like and subscribe for more Quinn's ideas. And now it's time for a Patreon question. Donovan Carr asks, are there more stories that you know of in a similar vein to this by the more Illuminati of sci-fi that you would not expect from these writers? I'd recommend Isaac Asimov's The Last Question. It's about a machine that takes billions of years to answer one question. How do we stop the universe from dying? And it's got an interesting kind of twist at the end. And it evokes a similar sense of awe and wonder and kind of the idea that we don't know that much about the universe and what's actually going on. So that would be my recommendation. Thanks for asking.